Hey guys, welcome to Ringsiders. We have a very special guest today. I'm very excited about this one. He's a wrestling historian, he's an interviewer, he's a former French language broadcaster for WWE Raw, he's an author, he's Pat Laprade. How are you doing, Pat?
Very good, very good. What about you guys?
We're good. It's as good as we can be in the current situation of the world.
Of course, we have a curfew here in Montreal. So,
Oh, really?
oh yeah, I mean that's we're probably the place outside of Australia with the stricter rules of any region in the world. So
wow, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, by 10 p.m. I have to be home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much back
like
to
when I
normal,
was a
aren't we?
kid.
Is that legal as well? Is that by law you have to be home?
Oh yeah, it's a law. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. If you're out and you don't have a paper from your work, or you don't have like a good reason, by good reason like going to a hospital or going to the drugstore to get anything like very important for your health, you'll get a fine. It's like $1,500.
Okay,
Wow.
so they're taking it seriously then.
Oh yeah. I could come back. I was 12 years old, and I could come back home after 10. But now I'm 45 and I
It's all
can't.
happening again.
Yeah, I'm living my childhood all over again. That's
My
so
God.
cool.
Well,
So
I mean,
cool.
Speaking of childhood, obviously growing up a wrestling fan, who were the people that brought you into wrestling? Who were the people you looked up to?
My dad brought me at my first wrestling show. I was 6. We had a promotion here that was called International Wrestling. It was pretty much a local promotion, like there had always been by that time in Montreal. And you had the Dino Bravo, Rick Martel, the Russo brothers, King Tonga, who became Haku a few years later. Big Joe LeDuc and all those guys. The Road Warriors were coming here often and all that. So I mean, they were drawing, I don't know, the big shows at the Montreal Forum were drawing 15, 16,000, 18,000 people. And it was on TV every single Sunday, Sundays at 11 a.m. So, I mean, that's the first wrestling I knew. My very first, the very first guy, that really that connected with me was Dino Bravo. He was our version of Hulk Hogan.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I've read things before where people don't realize Dino Bravo was probably the biggest babyface in Montreal.
Yeah.
Like you said, he was the Hulk Hogan of Montreal.
Oh yeah, not probably. He really was the biggest babyface. I mean, in '86, so in the summer of '85, WWF wanted to come back because they had tried to take over the territory in '84 and it didn't work. So they came back in '85. And the people running the Montreal Forum were the Montreal Canadiens hockey team. So they told them, well, we have a very good deal with Gino Brito and Frank Valois and those guys. So if you wanna do matches at the Forum, you have to make some kind of a deal with them. I mean, we won't just rent you the Forum since we already have a deal with another promoter. So McMahon knew, of course, Gino Brito, and they talk and they do what was called joint shows. So we were the only territory during the big takeover that Vince did in the mid 80s that actually worked with Vince for like 6 months. He took over Minneapolis or Calgary or the Mid-South and any other territory, and he just, ran them over. Here, he had to work with the local promotion for some time before, taking over. Well, once he had his foot and, in the Forum, that was just a matter of months. So he started in August, and in January, it was the last joint shows, and then he took over the Forum. But in January, Bravo was supposed to face Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
And WWF backed down of that match because they thought that they were scared that Hogan would be booed in Montreal.
Mm.
That's how big of a babyface Dino Bravo was. So yeah, and they changed the match, and that's also why Bravo didn't jump in right away with them. They took the Russos first, and then Bravo and Martel joined only in October. So it took more time for Bravo to, and there was just too much money on the line. I remember Gino Brito telling me that, you know, he told Bravo, if they would offer that to my son, I would tell him to go. So, I mean, go, you know, it's not even, I mean, Gino knew by the fall of 86 that, you know, he was kind of doomed. He wanted to be at a war with Vince, a war he regretted after that. But when they did the joint shows, the very first show they did, the big draw was the feud between the Russo brothers and the Garvin brothers. It had started in June, so it had started before WWF came on board. But not the real main event, but the actual main event of the show was Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik against Dino Bravo and King Tonga. But the real draw was the Russos against the Garvins. And that's the match that everybody was talking about. And after the match, McMahon told Gino, we could have done the same show without that match. It would have been the exact same, the same crowd, the same reaction. And Gino disagrees so badly with this that he just looked at Vince and said, "The fuck, you know." And from then on, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna fight this guy, and you know, I won't let him take my territory." And you know, of course, a year later, not even a year later, he was fighting for bankruptcy. But yeah, so that's the international wrestling I grew up with. That's Nino Bravo, and of course, soon after, Hulk Hogan became my guy. But you know, once Bravo was there, you know, from I don't know, 82, 83 maybe, he was really like on top of the world for me, and for any young kid like me who was watching wrestling.
I've got to ask as well quickly before I forget. You're a big fan of the Canadiens, I guess. Yeah, it's even this season.
Yeah, I mean, this season is so messed up, you know. With I mean, most of the team contracted COVID. There's okay, so I don't know how much you know about the NHL, but there's the NHL.
I love ice hockey.
Okay, great. So there's the NHL, there's the AHL, which is the farm team, and there's the ECHL, who's like the farm team of your farm team. So there's a new team in Three Rivers, which is like an hour away from Montreal, in the ECHL, and I've seen a player played for them in the opening game that played for the Montreal Canadiens. So it's like he stepped up. It's like going from a single A baseball to the major league in just a matter of a few months, because I mean, everybody was out because of COVID. So it's a weird year altogether.
Very weird. Yeah.
But my next book is about Montreal Canadiens former players.
I'll check that out.
A player from the 40s and the 50s who was the captain of the team and got, you know, Hall of Famer, got his number retired by the team and everything. So it's going to be my first hockey book. So very excited about
I'm glad I asked. I will check that out when it comes out. Definitely. I'd love to read that.
I know nothing about hockey, but I know
that's all right.
A big fan, but it's
you have other qualities, I'm sure.
I do. Yeah, I'm not sure what, but I do. But speaking of Dino as well, before we move on, you was on the Dark Side of the Ring episode regarding Dino. I mean, how did that come about, and what was that experience like?
Very cool, actually. When the team contacted me, I mean, it wasn't even called Dark Side of the Ring. I think, you know, I didn't know what it would be. He was supposed to be part of the first season. The first season got kind of cut in half because Vice wanted to test, you know, what the first 6 episodes would look like, and you know, the reaction it would get. So that's why Dino was part of the second season, but it was actually filmed at the same time as the first one. I think they had done the Bruiser Brody one, and I think another one, but that's pretty much it. So I mean, Evan and Jason were just fantastic to work with. And this is a story I'm always telling, because it was to me that really I knew that we were with good people and people that cared about wrestling and cared about doing a good documentary. So you know how Dino Bravo died, right? He was shot several times, and he was involved with the mob and with the cigarette smuggling and all that. So I mean, the family never really talked about what happened. By that time, Dino's widow, Deanne, never given an interview. His daughter, his only child, is his daughter, Claudia, that I knew from a friend. So one of my friends who's also a wrestler, his sister was best friends with her, so I knew her for a couple of years. And she had never really talked about her dad as well. And I mean, she was just a child, right? But she never did interviews or anything. So the family was kind of didn't know what to expect. Didn't know, it was the first time that something like this was being asked, a documentary on her dad and everything. So we were supposed to meet her for the interview was actually scheduled and everything. And we had a couple of interviews that day, and I was the one, asking the question off cam. And after the interview we're doing, I look at my cell, I have a message, it's Claudia, and she's just telling me that to call her back, that she doesn't feel comfortable doing the interview anymore. And she's kind of, backing down of everything. So I called her and everything, and I was like, okay, let me speak with Evan and Jason. And, if you don't feel comfortable, I mean, we cannot force you to do it. So I speak with Evan and Jay. And the first thing that I was kind of, I don't know, I don't know what to expect. I know they were going to be upset or whatever, So Evan said, you know what? Forget about the interview tonight. Okay. We have nothing else to do because we had, planned this interview. So call her back and tell her she would agree to go have dinner with us. Tell her to bring her husband. You come as well, because you're the link, between us and them. And we'll just have a friendly dinner. And let's see after the dinner, what she think of it. He knew how to approach the family. He had experience, with Brody's family and the Gino Hernandez family as well by that time. And she agreed to it. We had such a nice dinner. And at the end of it, all of her fears were gone. She knew better the people that she would, be doing business with. And she agreed to do an interview at another time. And it was an amazing interview to me, because Claudia was the star of that episode. But by that time, I knew that I was like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. And, because they could have just gotten upset and said, you know what, F her, we don't, we'll do it anyway or whatever, but that's not the reaction they got. And to me, that I knew I was with good people in this. And I really enjoyed doing the episode. Like I said, Claudia was the star. I knew Claudia, so it was easy for me to interview her. And I knew the reaction she would get. So there's a few questions I really waited for the end of the interview to ask her, because I knew she would get more emotional, and I think it really it showed in the interview, and it really made good TV, and I'm super happy of that episode.
Yeah, it's become a very successful series as well. I mean, I say this all the time. I'm a big old school guy. I mean, so I was excited when there was a Dino Bravo episode, an episode on the Von Erichs and Bruiser Brody, and it's become a real successful show. Are you surprised at how successful it's become?
Was I surprised? I mean, yeah. Well, like I said, when we first taped the interview, I didn't know what to expect at all. but after the first season, I was like, okay, this is the part I was worried about when they were explaining me the project was the reenactment of the scenes. You know, I didn't know. I thought I was scared it would be just, you know, done in a cheesy way, and you know, and now, I mean, I thought that, you know, it was putting images to stories that were told, and in a way where it respected the stories that were told in the documentary. So so by the first season, I mean, I knew that you know, it was something that could be going for a long time, and I was yeah, I mean, yeah, after the first season I wasn't surprised that, you know, the second season became more popular, because you know, we were hearing about the first season, you know, by everyone in the business, and I just thought that it was and it's still the greatest docu-series on wrestling ever done. Hoping, really hoping that there's going to be a fourth season, and that the plane ride from hell didn't affect them too much.
Yeah, I thought.
Am I the one buzzing, by the way, or because I'm hearing some weird noise?
Oh,
and
no,
I just want to make sure that
I can't hear a buzzing.
Okay, well, that's fine then. It should.
We're fine. I mean, what we're talking about as well is, I mean, I got this the other day, if you can see it.
That's a nice book cover.
It is.
It's a lovely book cover. You co-authored it. I'm a few chapters in. It's fascinating. I mean, everyone's fascinated by Andre. What was the thought behind this? Because you've really gone into so much detail. I mean, was that the thought, you wanted to make a book that's different to every other Andre book before?
Well, we wanted to make a good, accurate book, which was actually never done on Andre. Yeah. The closest to that was probably the Bugs Brown one, you know, the I don't know how to call it in English, but I don't want to say cartoon, but, you know, it was kind of so it was a graphic novel. That's so it was probably the best one that had been released on Andre, although it still had many things that were inaccurate, and we didn't think that Montreal had the place that it should have gotten in Andre's life and career. We had pitched it to ECW Press before, and we got rejected. I cannot explain why, but didn't think it was the right time, I guess. And then I was approached to do the HBO documentary.
Yes.
So that changed everything, because the documentary was such a success. Plus, my involvement in the documentary allowed me to get a lot of new information that you know, we would have not been perhaps able to have prior to my involvement there. Because I don't know if you knew, but, you know, I was brought to France with the team. The hotel doorman is I'm the one who convinced him to do the interview.
Oh wow!
I'm actually being interviewed while we're in Paris, and the family, the two brothers, I'm the one asking the question offline, off cam, because, you know, they brought me because of that. No one could speak French, you know. So I was. It's actually I don't know if you familiar with Ariel Elwani. The MMA journalist. Well, he's from Montreal, so we don't know each other, but we follow each other on social media for years. He knew, you know, I'm aware of his work, he's aware of my work, and he knew Jason here from the time Jason used to work with UFC. So he told him that, you know, if there was someone that, you know, he should be talking to about Andre, it was me. And from then, you know, I became a field producer on documentary. So very you know, I'm very thankful to Ariel because of that. And so because of the success of the documentary, we pitched it again, me and Bertrand Hébert, because you know, he was the one I wrote the Montreal book and the Mad Dog Vachon book with. So we pitched it again to ECW Press, and now they saw that because of the documentary, because I was field producer on it, there was like a better value to us writing the book.
Yeah.
So the basic was simple for us. We wanted to tell the whole story, which was never told in any. I mean, the HBO doc was was the best document ever done on Andre. Either on TV or written. But there's so much you can say in a 90-minute documentary, so it was incomplete. We had the chance to do that because it's a book, we're not we didn't have to worry about 90 minutes or 2 hour or whatever. We could, we knew it would be like a 400 or 500 page book. And the other thing that we wanted to make sure was to debunk everything that, all the myths that were ever told or written on Andre. So and if possible to debunk them, but also to explain why there was a myth and where it came from. So we went with this. We wanted to make sure that the human side of Andre would be covered, that all of his life and career would be, and that we would be telling the truth once and for all. And still we succeeded, but I saw a review online the other day, and the person wrote that we wrote an 800-page book. 800 page. The book is not even 500. And I was like, see, we'll never get rid of myths about Andre. There's always going to be, and now the myth is about the length of the book, and I was like, man, when are we going to get rid of those myths?
Yeah, there is not 800 pages here. There's 412 pages.
See, the French version has 600 page because it's it takes more words in French to explain things, and we added a few things for the local market, but still it's not 800. So I think we succeeded that at debunking everything and telling the whole story, and we're very proud of it.
Yeah, I'm a few chapters in, and I'm hooked already. And I love the detail you go into. It's such a fantastic read. Even the fact that obviously he wasn't meant to be just Andrei Russimov, was he? I mean, that wasn't meant to be his birth name. Was his father Bulgarian? And he's just, there's so much that I never knew about Andre from these first 3 chapters that I'm fascinated by.
They are errors or myths from his birth certificate till his death. If you look, I don't know if it has changed since, but for the longest time, and even after we were finished with the book, his year of death was not his year, but the date of his death was not the right one on Wikipedia, on any website for that matter.
Yeah, I've always heard someone say it was the 27th of January. Then I've heard someone say the 23rd of January. Yeah. So again, it was. Now I'm trying to remember by heart, but it's not the date that was everywhere. So I think the date everywhere was the 27th. Yeah.
But he was actually he passed away on the 28th. So because he let me just as I'm talking to you see. Okay, so his English Wikipedia is now changed to the 28th. Right? Yeah. It just took 2 years. So it's not too bad. So he was actually because the doorman, and it's on the documentary, the doorman told us that he had come back from playing cards around 1 a.m. in the morning, when at 1 a.m. it was already the 28th.
Well, yes.
How can he be gone by the 27th if he arrived alive on the 28th?
Yeah.
So and we do explain why, and where it got lost in some ways, but because people were saying, well, he played cards on the Wednesday night, came back to his hotel and was found dead. So people just assumed that he had passed away on the Wednesday night, which was not true. He passed away on the 28th. That we don't know what time exactly, but it was definitely on the 28th. So yeah, thank you for liking the few chapters that you already read. And that's the other thing, the other book that was written about him was done by WWE.
Right.
And I think, if I remember correctly, that like within 30 or 40 pages, we went from his birth till his beginning, with WWF at the time in 1973 with Vince. We have, I think, 8 chapters between that same period of time. So just to give you a difference of how complete we wanted this book to be.
Oh yeah, I'm hooked already. I'm 3 chapters in, and I'm going to be reading more tonight in bed, and I'm going to be reading more tomorrow. It's one of them books where Andre, even to this day, I don't think there'll ever be anybody more fascinating than Andre the Giant in the wrestling business. No. He's one of them guys people just want to hear stories about. And I think, again, I'm 3 chapters in, and I can tell straight away that this is going to be the best thing I've ever read about Andre. So I thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Did you ever get to see Andre live?
Yes. Montreal Forum. I really don't have any memories. I just know that I was there on some of the cards he was. But for some reason, I don't know. I don't have that kind of memory where, Bertrand Hébert is very good at this. We're different people. Bertrand will remember exactly matches that he saw when he was 7 or 8 years old. I can't, but I remember the year of birth of, plenty of old school wrestlers, and Bertrand, I don't even know if he knows mine. So we're different people. That's why we gel so well when we work together. But yeah, so I don't remember seeing him live, but I know I saw him live. But my earliest real memory of Andre is obviously WrestleMania 3. I must have rented that VHS probably 10 times.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew that show by heart. I had, rented it in French, in English.
Yeah.
Still to this day, my favorite WrestleMania. And I was there for Hogan and Rock in Toronto, and I've been to, multiple WrestleManias ever since. But to me, the one, it's probably the show. If I wasn't sure to be hooked up to pro wrestling, or let's say to WWF, because WWF was still new to me in '87, because before that it was international wrestling. So that's really what got me into WWF. That's for sure. And to me, Hogan wasn't my hero yet. And since I knew about Andre, and I knew about his legacy in Montreal and all that, Andre was the guy. I don't remember if I was cheering for him, but I certainly remember not booing him or not disliking him. For the longest time, it was like, to me, there wasn't a bigger match than Andre and Hogan. Not 5-star rating match, of course, but
the importance of the match.
Just the importance. And one thing that we wanted to make sure, and you'll get there in the book, is that most of the stories told on Andre kind of finish with WrestleMania 3. It's like, the beginning of the end for many storytellers about Andre. And we disagreed with that, and we made sure to do a whole chapter about it in the book, because to us, that feud and WrestleMania 3 was just the foundation of WWE pay-per-views. Because WrestleMania 3 was the first big WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
But then Andre had his surgery, and he comes back for the Survivor Series in November, which was the first Survivor Series. It's Team Hogan against Team Andre. Then a Royal Rumble, the very first Royal Rumble, '88. It's the big happening, the big attraction of the show. Is not even the Rumble, because we didn't know what the Rumble was at the time. It was the contract signature for Andre and Hogan for their main event match in Indianapolis the month after. That match drew, as we know, like 33 million people in the US, the largest rating ever for WWF match. The belt, Andre wins the belt, give it to DiBiase, all that gimmick. And then WrestleMania 4, we have a tournament, but the only match that we know for sure that's going to draw is Hogan and Andre in the second round of that tournament. And finally, SummerSlam of '88, it's the money, the Mega Bucks against the Mega Powers.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, that feud really laid down the foundation of what we call still to this day the Big Four. I was going to say pay-per-views, but I think we have to say premium events now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of what is it?
Premium live events.
Oh, premium live events.
Right.
I'm sorry about that. So I'll get used to it. So PLE. So it was pay-per-view. Now it's PLE. So it really laid down the foundation for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably one of, if not the biggest legacy of Andre the Giant.
I totally agree. That's the match that got me hooked as well. And to this day, I still think that's the most important match in wrestling. I'm sure people disagree, but that's my opinion.
Me and Dave Meltzer believe that this match and the Montreal Screwjob are probably the two most important matches in modern wrestling history. And I mean,
disagree.
Some can disagree, but you better bring good arguments, because these two are tough to beat.
No, totally agree with both of those. Before we go, so I know we're going to run out of time. I'd love to get you back on when I finish the book. It'd be love to chat some more about the book, if that's cool. But is there anything else you want to plug or promote before we go?
Yeah, I mean, the Andre the Giant book, The Eighth Wonder of the World, is available on Amazon. What is it? Amazon.co.uk. Is that the one? Yeah. So pretty much all of our books, I believe, are there. So the Mad Dog Vachon biography, the Mad Dogs, Midgets, and Screwjobs, the history of Montreal wrestling. There's also Bertrand's Pat Patterson biography that is
great book.
available.
I've got that as well, which is a great read.
I haven't written it with Bertrand. Bertrand was alone on this one, but I collaborated, helped them, proofread and all that. And it's an amazing book, you're right. And also I have a book with Dan Murphy, formerly of PWI, called Sisterhood of the Squared Circle, the history of women's wrestling. I know there's a few history of women's wrestling books since. We were the first one to put it out there, and to me still the best one out there. So if you want to know more about women's wrestling, that's the book to get. You can follow me on social media, Pat Laprade, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I don't really TikTok. I have an account, but I mean, dancing in front of a mirror, that's not my thing. And I mean, I have a column in the Pro Wrestling Illustrated as well. Other projects on the way, and still doing commentary for Raw in French here in Montreal. I have a French podcast as well, so a lot of stuff about wrestling. So I do tweet or Facebook in French sometimes, but I do English stuff as well. So don't hesitate to follow me on there.
Excellent. Well, for now, like I say, I will definitely bring you back on. We'll talk more about the book, because I can't wait to get back into this. But for now, I can't thank you enough. Pat Laprade, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.